You found a comb beside the sink, but it wasn't hers. The teeth were cracked, bent like a crescent of some older wound, and it smelled faintly of violets gone to rot. She laughed when you asked, but her pupils didn't move. You've never met this ghost, but she's always been in the room between touches, inside the tone of her praise. Every kiss has her scent, every silence has her hands, and when she says you're different, what she means is you're familiar. They do not love you, they love the echo you accidentally matched, the man who disappeared, the man who ruined them, the man they can't stop invoking with your face. So you try harder, you shrink, you adapt, and the more you do, the more they cry. There, that's what he used to do. If this whisper already knows, you let it echo. Like the video. Leave your shadow in the comments. Subscribe and stay near the silence. She smiled when you walked in, but her eyes widened like she had seen a man rise from the grave. You thought it was desire. It wasn't. It was recognition, a resemblance. Something curled at the edge of her unconscious, and it whispered, "He's back." You are not the first man in her life, but you are the first man who answered a shape that lives only in her dreams. That shape is not whole. That shape is not even human. It is a scream she never finished, a door that slammed before she could run, a night with no explanation, only scent and cold. She doesn't know she's looking through you, but the mirror she holds up to you has fingerprints on it, and none of them are yours. You speak gently, and she flinches. You joke lightly, and her laugh stutters, then disappears. She is comparing you without knowing. Her wounds are listening. Her history is watching you from behind her eyelids, and you are not in the room alone. Even when she kisses you, it isn't clean. There's something borrowed in her lips. She kisses like a question. She pulls back like she's checking, is it him? And when it's not, she becomes quieter, hungrier. She won't tell you his name. Maybe she doesn't know it anymore. Maybe it's dissolved into a cluster of traits, like a dream you only remember by smell and fear. He may not have even done much. Sometimes it only takes one moment, a sentence said too late, a stare held too long. Sometimes it was her father. Sometimes it was herself. But the imprint is there, on her nervous system, in the patterns that seem irrational, the emotions that arrive without invitation. You think she's reacting to you, but she isn't. She's reacting to the shadow she cast on your face the moment she decided you might be safe enough to repeat the cycle. You wanted to love her. You offered yourself. But what she held was not a man. It was a puppet made of memory, and you, willingly, slipped the strings around your wrists. She says you remind her of someone, but what she means is you remind her of when she broke. She doesn't want him back, but she wants the mystery solved. And so, she reenacts. She lets her body walk the same hallway. She lets her lips shape the same apologies. And you poor soul, you believe her when she says this time, it's different. Her eyes tell a story you cannot read. They flicker when you laugh. They dull when you cry. She isn't cold. She's possessed, not by demons, but by a pattern she never chose. One that chose her. Jung would call it an animus projection, but you just call it confusion. You try to stand still, thinking if you're calm enough, she'll finally see you, but she never really looks. Her love feels like attention, but it's surveillance. Her compliments feel like praise, but they're tests. She's watching for tremors in the mask signs that you're about to become the ghost she expected. You learn to hide your truth. You clip your tone, adjust your gaze, mold your hunger into something more palatable. But nothing you do erases the past she projected onto you. You begin to realize her trust is not something you can earn. It's something you can only imitate. She tells you she's never felt this way before. But what she means is she's never felt this particular distortion before. The ache is familiar, yes, but the shape is new. You were a different puzzle piece. Now, she's trying to force you into a wound carved by another man's hands. When you raise your voice, she shatters. But not because of what you said, it's because you sounded too much like him, and she can't survive that again. When you don't raise your voice, she panics because he was quiet before he disappeared, and silence now feels like warning. You cannot win, because the game was over before you arrived. There are moments when she weeps on your chest, and you feel something real. But even those tears are old. They were never meant for you. You are a substitute altar for a ritual she keeps trying to complete. In bed, she stares past you. During fights, she quotes pain that didn't happen here, and on good days, you feel like a doll she's finally managed not to break. You start to wonder who you are when she's not reflecting her history through your face. You wonder what your voice sounds like when it's not walking on shards of her past. You begin to doubt your own anger, your own needs. You think, maybe if you were stronger, more patient, she'd stop comparing you to him. But the truth is she never stopped seeing him. She just placed a better mask on top of the same wound, and every time you try to remove it, she cries like you're ripping out her soul because you are. She's not evil. She's not cruel. She's haunted, and in her haunting, you become the ghost. No one tells you this part. No one warns you that her trauma might fall in love with you first before her actual self ever arrives. You thought love would be light, but you found yourself inside a maze of mirrors, all of them cracked, all of them whispering the same name you'll never know. You tried to be different. You tried to hold her gently, but the more gentle you became, the more her system screamed, "This is how he tricked me." And when you finally snapped, even once, she felt relieved. Yes, there you are. I knew it was you. The irony is cruel. She wanted you to be different, but only if it felt familiar, and her body only recognizes pain. So here you are, becoming him just to escape him. You say you're not like him. She nods, but she flinches when you reach for her. You say you love her. She smiles, but it's the same smile she gave him, the one that begged, "Please, not again." And in the end, it doesn't matter who you are. What matters is what you trigger. What matters is the ritual. What matters is the unfinished loop, the psychological Ouroboros that bites its own tail and calls it fate. You try to leave. She cries like you're abandoning her, but she never held you, only the shape that left her before. You stay. She smiles like maybe this time it will work, but the mirror is still between you, and the mirror is older than you. You are kissing through glass, and every time you breathe, you fog it up just enough to imagine she sees your real face. But when the fog clears, she recoils, because you're not him, but you're close enough. It doesn't happen all at once. She doesn't declare it. There's no ceremony, no shift in moonlight, no whispered spell. You only notice it in the quiet places, the silence after you comfort her, the way her body tenses when you approach, the sudden way she stares like she forgot where she is. You've stopped becoming yourself. You are slowly being sculpted into the shape of her vengeance. Not a conscious cruelty. No, she is not plotting. She is remembering with her skin. Her sorrow chooses the mask, and you are the canvas. She says, "You're not listening." But what she means is he never listened. She says, "You don't care." But what she means is he cared only when she bled. She says, "You'll leave like the rest." And you hear the quiet truth, you're already sentenced. Not for what you did, but for the echo you resemble. You argue with grace. You defend yourself with calm, but calmness, to her, is a threat, because he was calm when he closed the door. He was calm when he lied. He was calm when he made her doubt her own soul. So now your composure becomes cruelty, your silence becomes accusation, your logic becomes manipulation. The kinder you are, the more suspicious she becomes. You try harder, and that's exactly how the punishment begins. She does not punish you out of hate. She punishes you from a wound that learned how to survive. Somewhere in her nervous system, love and pain are braided. Trust and betrayal are twins. And if she's not hurting, she's not paying attention. So she begins to test you. She plants small traps not out of malice, but out of panic. A delayed text, a story that doesn't add up, an old name dropped with too much casualness. And when you react, when your voice tightens just a little, when your eyes narrow for a fraction of a second there it is. She smiles inside. I knew it, she thinks. He's no different, but you are, and you're not. Because now you are being changed. You start watching your words. You avoid saying no. You nod when you don't agree. You begin to vanish not out of strategy, but out of erosion. She isn't asking you to disappear, but she's punishing the parts of you that stay intact. And every time you flinch to accommodate her fear, she watches with a hollow satisfaction, not because she wants you small, but because your shrinking feels like prophecy fulfilled. You make her coffee the way she likes it. You fold the towels the way she said once, in passing. You stop looking at other women, not even in movies. You start asking her permission to breathe in certain rooms. She calls this devotion. She calls this love, but it's a cage, and you built it yourself. You think if I can just be gentle enough, clear enough, constant enough, she'll stop seeing him, she'll finally see me. But she doesn't want to see you, not yet, because you are the vessel, and vessels are meant to be filled. And what she pours into you isn't water, it's ash. It's smoke from a fire she never got to put out. You're not a partner. You're a witness, and witnesses must stay silent while the past replays itself again. Some days she loves you too much. It floods you. She clings. She sobs in your arms for reasons you don't understand. She tells you you're her only anchor, her only peace, her only escape. And you believe her. But the next day, she's cold, detached. Everything you do is wrong. Your voice is too loud, your footsteps too sharp, you're insensitive, arrogant, just like him, just like him. She doesn't mean to say it, but it slips, and once it's said, it never unsays itself. You see it in her eyes now, not just memory, but judgment. You were the cure. Now you're the infection. She tried to heal with you. It failed. So now you are proof that healing isn't possible. You ask what changed. She says, you changed. But you know the truth, her memory consumed you. You tell her you're trying. She says it's not enough. You ask what she wants. She says she doesn't know. And she doesn't. Because she's not trying to build love. She's trying to restage a betrayal where she finally wins. And since that betrayal was never yours, there's no victory to find. So the game drags on, circular, mythic. You forget the first version of yourself. You become the man she accuses, just to finally gain some control. You raise your voice once, and now she has her proof. You say something careless, and now she knows you're cruel. Even when you apologize, she mistrusts it, because he apologized too, and he didn't mean it. So maybe you don't either. Your love becomes theater, your truth becomes evidence, and your soul begins to rot from self-denial. You wake up anxious, you fall asleep guarded, you rehearse conversations in your head before saying anything. You dread surprising her, you dread not surprising her enough. And still some part of you loves her. Not the part that's free, that part's dying. but the part that wants to rescue, the part that thinks, maybe if I carry her far enough, she'll stop bleeding on me. But she won't, because bleeding is how she proves the pain was real. She's not doing it to manipulate you. She's doing it because no one ever believed her before. So she needs someone to witness her collapse, not once, but endlessly. And you were strong, you were kind, you were willing. But now you're bleeding too. And now the dance has reversed. You are not just punished, you begin to punish. Not intentionally, but from weariness, from resentment, from a soul that cannot scream anymore without breaking. You say sharp things now, not often, but enough. You walk out for longer walks. You stop texting back as quickly. You don't hold her when she cries. Not every time. She notices, she says, "You're pulling away." You are. Because you've become her enemy without meaning to, and she became your prison without trying. This is not love. This is a ritual, a reenactment, a sacred psychodrama that both of you inherited from ghosts too old to name. She needed you to be safe. You needed her to be free. But now she sees you as a threat, and you see her as a trap. And still, you stay. Because something deeper than logic keeps you circling. Some myth older than your blood says, complete the pattern. But there is no completion, only reenactment, only reflection, only punishment. You are no longer in a relationship. You are inside an archetype, a living symbol of the wound that cannot close. And you are bleeding beside her, both of you, mistaking pain for purpose. She tells you she loves you, but the words feel borrowed, like she heard them once in a movie that didn't end well. Her mouth says, "I love you," with the confidence of a child reading from an ancient script, one passed down from the women before her. And you, eager for meaning, cling to those syllables like they contain your salvation. But her love isn't hers. Not really. It's a pattern, an inherited mask, a survival ritual performed under duress, something she learned to do before she ever knew what love was. You feel it when she holds you, the way her fingers grasp like they're searching for something beneath your skin. Not you, but a feeling she remembers having with someone else. Or maybe not someone. Maybe just a version of herself she lost in the fire. You are not loved. You are needed. And that need has nothing to do with who you are. She loves in echoes, in fragments, in borrowed light from a moon she hasn't seen in years. When she whispers, "I need you," she is whispering to a ghost, and you are standing in its place. You see it in her eyes when she looks at you, the shimmer of recognition that isn't about your face, but about the absence your presence fills. She isn't loving you. She's loving the relief you offer from her own ache. At first, it felt flattering, to be wanted so intensely, to be held like a secret, kissed like an antidote. But then, you started noticing the shift. When you gave her peace, she grew restless. When you stayed faithful, she grew suspicious. When you didn't chase, she began to provoke. Because what she calls love only feels real when it's difficult, when it hurts, when it burns just enough to prove it matters. She never learned that safety can be passionate, that stability can be erotic. She only knows affection as a reaction to absence, warmth as a reward after withdrawal, desire as a product of longing. And so, even her tenderness comes dressed in conditions. If you suffer enough, she softens. If you disappear briefly, she weeps for you. If you're broken, she'll fix you, but only until you're whole. Then she'll retreat again, because your healing makes her feel disposable. She doesn't do this to hurt you. She doesn't know she's doing it at all, because the love she learned was not a gift. It was a negotiation, a power game, a pact made in the dark with a man who didn't stay. So now, when you show up, she doesn't know what to do with you. You become too much, too available, too solid, and something inside her twists, because if love is no longer a chase, then where is the thrill if you won't abandon her? Then what will she save herself from? You didn't sign up to be a myth, but now you are part of one. The myth of the good man, a creature she both craves and distrusts, a symbol she was told to want, but never shown how to receive. You begin to see the truth. Her love is a possession, not of you, but of the story she's trying to finish. She wants the ending to change. She wants to finally win. But to win, there must still be a villain, and if you refuse to become one, she will paint you in his colors anyway. You notice her tone shift when you're too kind. You feel the weight of her stare when you smile without sadness. Her love starts to shrink in the presence of your wholeness, because it has nothing to feed on. Love, to her, is a hunger, and you are ruining the ritual by not starving her first. So she starts to pick little comments, small betrayals, unspoken tests. She doesn't want to lose you, but she doesn't know how to keep you either. Not as you, only as the character her psyche demands. And when you react, when you finally show pain, she glows, not cruelly, but with relief. There, she thinks, now it's real. Because if you're hurting, it must mean you care. If you're jealous, it must mean you're invested. If you're angry, it must mean the bond is deep. She was never taught that love could breathe without breaking, and so her version of intimacy becomes warfare with prettier words. She kisses you after fights because that's when it feels truest. She withdraws after kindness because it makes her suspicious. She tells you she loves you at the edge of endings because only then does the fear make the feeling sharp enough to be believable. You start to feel it too. The addictive pull of chaos, the magnetic return to conflict. You catch yourself provoking back. You delay your texts. You flirt with absence, not to manipulate her, but to make her see you again. Because the only time her love feels real is when it's earned through loss. She doesn't know her soul is repeating, that she's possessed by a story that isn't hers. Her mother lived this. Her grandmother, too. Women who gave everything and called it love, then punished the next man for taking it. She is loving you the only way she knows how, like a haunted house trying to be a home. And still, you stay. You convince yourself this is what love should feel like: effort, sacrifice, bleeding without resentment. But your soul knows better. It weeps quietly while you whisper reassurances she cannot hear. You become a caretaker, a therapist, a confessor, everything but a lover. Because in her story, the lover must be absent, mysterious, dangerous, and you are none of those things. So you become boring, you become background, until you stop trying, and in that moment, the very second you grow cold, she returns, eyes wide, arms open, lips soft again. Suddenly, she remembers everything you were. She floods you with love, the very love you needed weeks ago. But now, it's too late. Now, it feels like pity. Now, it feels like control, because you know it won't last. Her love only arrives when she's about to lose you, and you are tired of having to threaten your absence just to be seen. You wonder, is this love or is this trauma wearing lingerie? You lie beside her, and her body curls toward yours instinctively. Her skin recognizes yours, but her spirit recoils from peace, and every time you try to anchor her, she dreams of drowning. You start to forget what you wanted, who you were, what you meant, because the love you accepted wasn't really given, it was rehearsed. It belonged to someone else, to another lifetime, another man, another pain, and she wrapped it around you like a shroud, whispering that this time it would be different, but it isn't. It never was. The room is quiet now. She's asleep beside you, hand on your chest, lips parted like she's still waiting for something. You stare at the ceiling, tracing cracks that weren't there before. The moonlight casts her shadow across your ribs, but the shape doesn't fit her body. It's older, sharper, hungrier. You reach for the warmth, but it moves like fog. A question drips down the back of your throat. Whose dream am I dying in? You don't answer. You close your eyes. And somewhere, behind the walls, you hear another man breathing. He sounds like you, but he left a long time ago. If this voice found you like the video, leave your trace in the comments and subscribe before the mirror remembers.